Kelvin, good to see you in the office today. I know you're a busy man in the world of operational resilience, and you head up the KA2 operational resilience practice. I just thought it'd be great to grab you for a few minutes and just ask you a few questions about what's going on and just seeing what's going on in the operational resilience space with your clients.
It's interesting. So over the last couple of months, operational resilience, certainly from our clients, has become really a hot topic, and it's got really busy. People are, I think customers have looked at the regulation, the changes that have come in that from the traditional regulation. So the FCA, PRA, Bank of England have now come out with a joint regulation about operational resilience. It's applying to a wider range of firms. People are realising what that means, realising that it's different from the traditional disciplines. And that difference is starting to get our customers saying, well, hang on a minute, how do we approach this? So there are some simple elements to it, but there are also some quite complicated elements to that resilience position. And I think firms are coming to us to look at how we can help them to establish their resilience position and what level that needs to happen to, because a lot of the regulators are talking about, it's about guidelines. It's different, particularly from a company perspective. It's looking at the resilience position from a customer perspective. So it's saying, what does the customer think? What are the important business services to that customer? And traditionally, things like business continuity, crisis management have all looked at things inwardly from the company themselves. So now you're asking them to, you're asking these companies to say, okay, we've got to take a position, we've got to understand our business services, not so much and that's spread across all the different areas that support that business service. You're also asking companies to have an understanding of what's important for the customer, what's not important for the customer. That's a very different viewpoint from the viewpoint that has been taken in the past. Perhaps more akin to the consumer regulators, where they look at the customer position from the start. And I think that creates a big challenge for companies. They're coming to us saying, okay, how do we meet that challenge? It's really exciting because it's a real change, a mindset, and I think it does create challenges for the company, but they're sort of embracing it as a better way of looking at things. See, that business service concept is a much better way of actually looking at things. And I think ultimately, over the next, you have the regulation coming into place in March this year, end of March this year, but there's 3 years time to be able to correct failures in that resilience position and improve it. So you're getting to the situation where they're not saying do everything. This isn't a boil the ocean thing, or it shouldn't be anyway, but you never know, I guess. So you've got that opportunity, companies got the opportunity to get it right and do that. And I think they're embracing the idea of improving their business services, and even better, making them resilient from the outset, which is a great way of having services. It means that when things do happen, and that's the premise of all of operational resilience, is bad things will happen. Therefore, how do we make it better for our customers? How do we make it better for the market as well? If you're talking about the bigger players in financial services, they're really looking at how do we make sure that the financial markets don't get significantly disrupted by this. They still operate effectively. And that's true of, as the other regulators as well. There's a lot of drive of that position. And I like to see that. I think it makes companies better companies. They're providing better services for their customers. It doesn't.
No, that's great. It's a really good little insight there, and it's that change of mindset for what you organise. Before, quite internally looking, now that external looking view. But from my background in service management, we had a framework called ITIL, and it's been ingrained to us for a number of years. But it was always adopt and adapt. You just can't pick it up and use it, which is good. One thing I hear in operational resilience is the Opres framework. What does that mean to you? Is there a framework I can just pick up and use, or is it a bit more to it than that?
I think one day there might be a framework you can pick up and use, but at the moment there really isn't. It's talking about, it's changing a mindset, and it's linking together traditional frameworks. So ITIL hasn't gone away, business continuity hasn't gone away, but the view that you have to take links those frameworks which are used across different areas of the business. And it says, right, the frameworks and those traditional disciplines provide the basis for something, but actually having to say there's a process now that we need to go through to understand things from a business service perspective, and to be able to explain to the senior levels of an organisation what that resilience position looks like, what it means to the customer, and what kind of expenditure they need to do to improve it. And also to get that mindset to say, can we get to resilient by design? How do we do that? And these days, with a lot of things that are available to us, like IT or need adaptation, there's a lot of really good practice there that enables you to put in a pretty resilient framework, I think.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I think having that approach to it and the framework might develop over time is a good thing to know for organisations at this time. If I was an organisation, and hopefully many of them are on that journey already who are going to be affected by it, where do you start with it? If you're either just about to set out or you're involved in it for the March the 31st deadline, in your opinion and your experience, where does that start? Where does that journey start?
So it starts a little differently for each company, but I guess there's a slightly common point, which is exactly that the company itself doesn't have a common view of what resilience should look like. There's very much a view of one department, another department, etc. It's not a cross-departmental view of what resilience should look like, and also where responsibility for that lies within the company. Do you allocate it out to individual areas? Do you create a centre of excellence to do it? That's also dependent on the company structures and how they want to do it. So we tend to start off with a workshop to get companies to understand what it will mean for them, what it means for their organisation, what it means for the tooling that they have, etc. And then get them to have a common position to understand how they want to approach operational resilience, who they want to approach it within the organisation, and also who they might want to partner with to actually do that. It's quite a lot of work, or can be quite a lot of work, in an area where some companies have got good basics, other companies have got medium sort of basics. Well, they're not so good. I don't want to say that. So I think having coming to us, we've been able to deliver some workshops specifically for lots of different organisations, tailored to what they need, and to get that common understanding from the organisation. And then we're also helping them on that journey of how do you get operational resilience embedded in the organisation. And that's and also, we're talking about the tool sets that they need to be able to do that, because you need access. If an event happens, you need access to some of the information that you're building up. And going, hang on a minute, where did I file it? Is not quite the right one. There's a need to have much more accurate information to be able to inform your customers about what's going to happen, what's happening, and do that. You can see it already that when cyber security events happen, the firms that do it well are out there quickly, they communicate clearly, effectively, they understand what's going to be important to the customer and not. And that makes a big difference to the customers, it really does. So I think we start with that journey that says, let's have a workshop and let's get that common understanding of what resilience looks like. And then the work streams that organisations need after that depend on the organisation and depend on their level of maturity and how they want to go through it.
Gotcha. It's the tools you've mentioned, you brought up tools, and everyone thinks, we'll just go buy a tool and it'll fix it, or there's the tool out there that does this. And I've come across that many times in the past, and actually I've always approached tools as a last resort. We know you're not a fan of Excel spreadsheets, but where for you does the tool journey start, and where do you look for the tools to help you on that journey?
I think, so for me, that journey starts quite early on in an unusual way, because people have tooling already around areas of this. Some of that tooling is appropriate for looking at operational resilience and supporting it. Some of that tooling, if you start adding more tools to it, etc., or that kind of world, you start to get into a quite complex situation. And what you're trying to do is make sure that the tooling that you have is relatively simple about how you look at operational resilience, and it's supporting that. So normally you get business requirements, do all the other bits and pieces, but part of that discovery is understanding the tools you have and where that shortfall is likely to be, and where the links exist within the tool. Are they just compartmentalised to support particular organisation, elements of the organisation, that kind of thing, or are they really, a nice broad ranging tool set that support multiple departments, multiple parts of the organisation? And I think it's trying to stop the mentality that says we'll buy a bit of technology and it'll fix the problem. It's like, and you just go,
we all like shiny things.
Yeah, exactly, like shiny thing. It'll fix the problem. It'll fix the problem. It's like, no, it's not going to fix the problem. It's almost getting into that tool set and getting people to understand what they have, understand what they might need, and not leap down a I want to find a. There's also the approach which is I'm going to put it all in an Excel spreadsheet, which I'm less of a fan of. You're true. But there's a reason for that. It's not a very collaborative tool, and it has limitations. And effectively, it's great for a small organisation as a stopgap. But if you go beyond that, those limitations come into place quite quickly. And it's like, and I know everybody takes, makes fun of it, but that's the way it is. It's a tool set that has limits. It does spreadsheets really well. It doesn't support process mapping. It doesn't support a lot of other things very well. And you're going to struggle doing that. That's really well.
No, I mean, I think for me, you've hit the nail on the head around the tool sets. Look at it later. Look at what you've got already. People and organisations have invested time and money into some of that, and it can sometimes be fit for purpose or not. And I think that's a great view to have on that. So thanks for your time, Kelvin. It's been really useful, and hopefully the work you're doing for our clients is really adding the value.
Oh, thank you. It's really interesting. It's so nice to have a chat with you. Just out here in the front of the office. It's just really lovely to have a chat. It's brilliant. So thank you.